guys, in this video I'm going to take this Pro Boat Sonicwake and do a complete installation of a wrap. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off these stock graphics, which are, they're pretty cool, but I think we can do better than that. I'm shooting this video in my print room right now because my kids have inhabited my studio. It's school shut down, COVID-19 thing going on, so I figured this was a good time to get some videos done and get some things caught up. So without any further ado, let's get started. Just got your graphic kit in the mail and you're excited to get it on your boat. So the first thing you got to do is take off the stock graphics. So I'm going to go over just the basics of that. It's not a really tough job. I'll probably speed up the video because you probably don't want to stand there and watch me remove this stuff. I'll slow the video down if there's something important that I need to go over. I've got a brand new Pro Boat here. So the graphics are, they haven't been cooked on there by the sun or anything like that. They should come off pretty easy. What I did was I took my X-Acto knife here and I just got underneath here and picked the graphic up a little bit to get it started. And once you get it started, you can sort of just use your hand to do the rest, okay? And these graphics are coming off with zero residue. So I won't even need to use any rubbing alcohol to remove the residue. There's a little bit of residue there, so probably what we'll do is actually use the alcohol just to go over the process. But you want to be careful when you use the knife, because if you dig into your body at all, you probably will scratch it just a little bit. So use something softer like your fingernails if you've got fingernails long enough to get underneath the graphic there. And just go over the entire thing like this and remove it all. And I think what I'll do is speed up the video now, and you can watch me do that, and then we'll prep it and get it ready for application. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to focus here. I have all the graphics removed as far as I can tell, and you can notice that I left the windshield graphic on, and I did that because I don't print silver metallic or cut silver metallic right now. So this kit in particular will not come with the windshield, so you can just retain the one that came stock. And although this video covers all boat installs, some of the boats that I sell, like the Spartan or the M41, I do include just a black window, I believe. But if you've got the Pro Boat Shockwave, leave your window graphic on, because I think it looks great silver like that and it won't hurt anything. There is a little bit of residue left over, just in some small spots. So I've got a nice cloth here. Soft, it won't scratch the body at all. And I'm just going to take some 91% isopropyl alcohol and put it on my cloth. And I'm just going to go over the spots where I can see there's a little bit of residue, and it just takes it off basically immediately. So being that all of these boats probably have the same stock graphics on them, you'll have zero issue getting the residue off of the stock graphics. There's a little bit up here. And you just go over the entire boat. Make sure you get it all. If you do have residue left over and you were to put the new wrap over top of it, it will show through as like a depression or a lump, and it won't look really good. So make sure you do get this part really well. Okay, so let's get started with this little project here. I'm going to quickly go over all my tools like I normally do. I got a heat gun here. I have some rapid tack and a lint-free cloth. Now, I just happen to have rapid tack in the studio. This is a specialty formula for graphic application. You don't need to have rapid tack. Just follow the instructions on your sheet that's included, and it'll go over how to make your own solution out of soap and water. A little bit of alcohol you can put in there too. The instructions go over the do-it-yourself fluid, which is just a container this size of room temperature water, maybe 4 to 8 drops of dish detergent. You can put a teaspoon of rubbing alcohol in as well, and at the end of the day, you'll end up with the same solution that is this company called Rapid Tack. More information about the application fluid is in the instructions. The point of the soap in the fluid is to help the air bubbles escape and give it lubrication. So as you're pulling or pushing over top the graphic and the water's coming out, the soap gives it the viscosity it needs to get that air out instead of it getting trapped around the squeegee, and then you look back and you get all these bubbles in there. So it's very important to get your soap mixture right. If you start applying and you find that you're pulling the squeegee across the graphic and you're getting little tiny water bubbles, you need more soap in your solution. So just go back. You'll still have time at that point if you see it right away and you can't get them out. Just pull the graphic up, set it upside down with the sticky side up in the air, and don't get it dirty. Go back to the kitchen, add some more soap, shake it up, come back, and you'll find that your pockets will be much less the more soap you add. You don't want to add too much soap because that can also be bad too, and it'll sort of make the graphic take a lot longer to bond onto the body, okay? One more thing I've got here is some, what do I have here? 91% alcohol, okay? You can get this at Walmart, Amazon, anywhere. Of course, in the COVID-19 era, you may not be able to find this quite as easily because I think some people might use it for hand sanitizer. But I happen to have a whole bunch here at the studio for the last few years, so we can use that to get this prepped. So I put a little bit on my lint-free cloth, and I'm just going over the body, making sure it's clean. Now this body had some factory graphics on it, and I took my X-Acto knife right here and a little bit of heat, and I warmed it up just a little bit, and I just pulled up the corner, and then I just took the graphics off. They peeled right off without any problem at all. And there was a little bit of residue left behind after I took those graphics off, and I just cleaned that up with some of this alcohol before I turned the camera on. I did take the rivet out of the antenna hole. If they're easy to take out on your boat, or if there's screws and things like that, and it's easy to take out, it's always better to take some of them out before you start, because as you start to lay the graphic down, you don't want to be fumbling around with things like that. So this is pretty good here. This is pretty good. I don't see any issues here, and we can probably get right into it. So I'm going to leave the cap on because I don't want to get any of this soap and water inside the cap. Just make sure a little piece of dust there I want to just get out of there. There we go. So why don't we move the boat to the back here, and we'll bring the graphics up front. So I'll just slide the boat and the stand back the table. Get this untangled. Boat's going to go back there. Put my tools in some sort of order here, so I'm somewhat organized. So here's our graphic kit. And obviously we can see this centerpiece here is going to go on here, and then the cap goes here. There is a windshield graphic you can put on. For now, I've left the silver one on. I may take that off once I get the graphics on. I want to see what it'll look like. If I don't like it, I'm going to put the black one on. And you have your side rails and some interior pieces here for the cap. One of the things about the Sonicwake kit that I've done differently as compared to the Spartan and the M41 and some of the other boats I've done is I've made the top one full piece. Now that has some benefits. It looks a lot nicer when it's installed, but there's some drawbacks, which is it takes a little bit longer to install and it's a little bit more tedious to install, but I think the effort will be well worth your time in the end, okay? So I think what we'll do is we'll take one of these pieces off here, and I'm just going to pull it back. Again, my table is clean. My hands are clean, and practices like that are going to be outlined in your instruction set, which come with the boat. And so now we have the sticky side facing up. It's going to go on the boat. We're just going to flip it. Pretty straightforward as far as where it goes and how it goes. We're going to have all the time in the world once we get this wetted down. So we don't need to stress out too much right away about placement. So I've sprayed it down with the solution. Now I'm going to spray where I'm putting this on the boat with the solution. I'm just going to try and pull the boat out here. Okay, so I'm just going to spray down the boat as well, where we're going to be applying it. Here's a little tip. Even if you aren't applying something on here, get that sprayed down too, because if you drop it on top of that cap, it won't stick for you, okay? So, I'm going to get this on here, then I'm going to spin the boat around so you can see it. I'm going to feed the antenna through, just like this. And we're going to spin it around. And here we are. Okay, so I've moved my camera around so you guys can see this a little bit better. Because I moved my camera around, this has sat for a couple minutes. And as you can see, I can still pull the graphic up and work with it. It's not sticky yet. So I'm just going to go back over it one more time and spray it down. You can never spray this too much. So, you know, if you're new to this process and you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, water's going to ruin my graphic. It's not going to ruin the graphic, okay? Trust me. This is a straightforward application as far as where the pieces go. Obviously, I mean, you can see right away that this thing is cut precisely to go around the cap here. I'm just going to slide this back, and I'm going to make sure that this front notch is lined up on a center axis of the boat, okay? It's as simple as that. This looks good. Now, one of the things I want to point out, and this is one of those things I mentioned that will be specific to the Sonicwake here. Get this back. Sonicwake has a full top piece. Now, let's look at this ridge here, and hopefully you can see it. I know black bodies are hard to pick up on the camera, but it comes out, and then it goes down, and it goes over, and it goes down, okay? So if we were to take this graphic right now and pull it over to this corner edge here, the holes here won't line up quite right. And the reason for that is it's designed so that we squeegee it over and then we allow the graphic to come down this step here by pushing it down there first. So if you were to adhere this outside and you had sort of a cavernous area here where the graphic is bridging across that dip, it's not going to line up right. It's engineered to go on one way. And again, this step is specific to just this Sonicwake, okay? Most boats have individual pieces that are cut here. Doesn't apply to what I'm saying, okay? I'm going to go back around again and just make sure all my lines look good, and they do. And this is where we're going to start to need some heat. Now, I've already checked and made sure, and it looks like I am aligned right down the center. There is a small little cut right here, a relief cut, if you can see it, in the middle of the hood. at the top. I've got my finger on it right now. That's your center line, and then this relief cut down here is your other center line. We're going to start squeegeeing down the center axis, but first we need to warm it up, okay? So I'm going to warm it up. Now I want you to watch these pieces here. Watch how they start to lay down. See how they soften from the heat? When you start to see those buckle and move, that's when you know you've got enough heat, okay? So we're just gonna warm things up here. See them buckling down? And now I'm just gonna take my squeegee and I'm gonna go right down this center line, just like that, okay? And then I'm gonna come over until I get that ridge where it drops off, and I'm gonna stop. And what we're doing here is we're just getting things hinged down so they won't move on us. We've got our center axis hinged down. Okay? Now, we're gonna work on this, and instead of biting this down here and then pushing that in, we're gonna work from here, push it down, and it's gonna suck that in and line these holes up. First thing I want to do though is actually add just a little bit more fluid under here. Now we're going to add the heat. Add the heat all the way down this line. If you only add heat in one section and it stretches on you here, and there's a cold spot right here, you're going to get deformation. This is a relief cut here, by the way, and that's going to come in handy with the stress on this thicker material. So I'm pushing it down, okay? See how it wants to bite in now a little bit? And these holes now line up perfect when it bites in. Just working on getting my alignments a little bit better here. Okay, so I'm taking my heat and I'm keeping myself warm here as we work down. And I'm just gonna work that water right down this ridge. And I can see it squirting out here. Okay, so we're coming across and down. We're gonna do the same here and just keep working our way forward. Going to soften this up a little bit here. I'm going to take my soft rag and I'm just going to use that to reduce the friction from my finger. And I'm going to do a push forward here. I'm not going to push it too hard because you can sort of ripple the vinyl as it's warm and stretch it too much. But you can see that gave me a nice clean push down there. Now, I want to make sure that this graphic gets as close to this edge as possible. So while it's warm, or while keeping it warm, I can use my thumb and just rock it maybe another, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch onto the corner of the haul line. Again, the heat is your friend. And I'm just kind of testing this out to see where we are. And I'm taking my squeegee down. Now, here's a tip. It's better to overextend over this corner than it is to be too short. Because if you overextend, you can just trim it even, okay? And sometimes being overextended is going to be okay, because if you add more heat than I did when I templated this, you could stretch your material more than I did when I was test fitting on my numerous occasions. So there is some deviance in how this will go on, and that's okay. So let's pull this up a little bit here and get ourselves rejuiced up there, and let's add some heat. I'm just going to support this up with my fingers here. Okay? And I can feel it softened up. I'm just going to work down and then over, and then down and then over, and then down and then over, okay? Feel where you are with your finger there. Make sure you don't have a little valley in there. Warm it up again a little bit. And I think for this final pull, I'm going to use my rag. Very soft. Don't push too hard because you'll possibly smudge and ripple the material. It does get very soft when it's warm. Just had a little bit of a bubble there that I'm working out, and it's out. Now I'm just going to work my way back, and you can see this wing is starting to fold down a little bit here. Okay. And again, just going to take my squeegee and rock it down. Now, one of the things about heating up the vinyl, you can tell how hot it is when you take your squeegee over it, because the warmer it is, the squeegee sticks more. It doesn't slide right across like this. When it's warm, it sort of has a chatter effect. When it does that, you really need to be careful that you don't push too hard. The warmer it is, the less pressure you need to push down. As it starts to cool, I can feel it cool already. As I'm working my way up, I'm starting to push down a little bit harder. Okay? So you can see the front of this hull is basically down. Now we're just going to move right on. I'm going to pull this up until it won't pull anymore, or I start to see just a touch of residue show up. That residue is where it has been bonded and we had already worked. So I'm just going to wet it down again. I'm going to pass my antenna through, and everything should be aligned. I'm looking at my center point here. That looks good. This is a tricky spot here, okay? You want to keep this top edge nice and straight and aligned at the top of this roll point, okay? And we're going to get that down first, and then again, we're going to rock it down just like we did on the front. I'm going to take my finger wrapped in this cloth, and I'm just going to very, very slowly and carefully go across here. And the reason I'm doing this nice and slow and deliberately is I want that fine detailed gap between this and the top cap there to be perfect. So I'm only adhering that top roll. It comes out, down, and over. I'm only doing that top part before it comes down, okay? Let's do the same thing on the other side. We heat it up. I'm going to take my cloth with my finger wrapped in it and just very carefully go right down that line and get it adhered. Okay? I'm going to need a little bit more heat back here. I'm going to go all the way around. Looking good. Okay? Now we can work on getting this ridge down. I'm going to lift it up a little bit here because I don't want it to bridge across that valley and then push it down. I need to bring it down from the top down through the valley and then finally land on the side. So I'm using my hand to sort of keep it up off there. Now watch what happens when I push down with my squeegee. It's going to pull it in. It's actually going to go in, and that's what we want. Okay? That's what we want. Again, this part is indigenous to this boat. Using my rag to just work it back. Things have cooled off now, but I got that valley down. And now we can roll that front edge down. And for that, I'm going to use my squeegee. And here I can feel the squeegee dragging a little bit because it's so warm. Remember I talked about the warmer it is, the more you can feel that squeegee want to sort of stick to that vinyl, right? Maybe you can even hear it on the camera. It's kind of like a chatter. Okay? We got a nice clean edge here, okay? Let's get this thing flipped around. We'll pull this up a little bit. Wet it down again. Notice I have this adhered up here where we did that. So we can kind of get our hands under here and support this a little bit. And you can just feel the vinyl soften. Okay? I'm going to start up here because that's where I ended. I'm going to get that valley down. You hear the squeegee? You can tell the temperature of the vinyl just by listening to the squeegee. If you can hear it chatter, it's probably the right temp. Now I'm going to use my cloth and I'm just going to drag my finger back and I'm going to feel for any bubbles. I didn't feel any. Now we can finish it off. Listen for the squeegee. You hear it? That's that warmth biting onto the squeegee. There we go. Okay. This is all done. We are on to this back part here. I'm going to add a little bit of heat. Just soften things up for me. You can see here, hopefully, there's some relief cuts here, and they're designed right where they need to be. There's one there, and alternately there's one there on the opposite side. Okay? I'm just going to take my squeegee. This is an easy finish off here because it's nice and flat. And I'm just going to work side to side. I'm going to look for bubbles. Just like that. I can see I need some heat back here. Hopefully the camera's picking that up, guys. I apologize if it's not. I'm just taking my finger wrapped around this and I'm just coming right back that boat line while it's warm. Again, you can hear it. You hear that squeakiness? It only does that when it's warm. When you start to lose that sound, it's time to warm it back up again. Okay? You'll be able to see more when I get to this side. I'm going to work my way right across. There's a little bit of a chamfered edge back here. I'm just going to warm it up. I'm going to use the squeegee on this back edge because it's nice and flat. Then I'm going to take my towel and use my finger, and any residual that pops out, the towel soaks up really quick and it won't get sucked back in. Okay? So here I am, finger wrapped around. I'm going right back that groove. The material is still warm to hot. And it's just a perfect fit. If this is your first time installing, if you're watching this video, this is something you can do. It is not hard because it's not a thin vinyl wrap. It is nearly impossible to wrinkle this. You don't need to worry about that. Everything is pre-cut and ready to go on. I'm just working out one bubble I got right here. Trying to get that guy to go down that groove for me. I'm going to show you a trick here. Because it's so close to the edge, I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to give it a little pathway in between the sticker and the body. Okay? A little bit of heat to soften it up. The water's running out now, so the pathway worked. I need to use this so there's no friction. And out comes the water. Okay? So here we are. This is where we are right now. You can see everything lines up perfect. I've got a pretty good line going here on the hull. I might need to trim just a little bit here. Depends on how particular you are. I'm going to finish up this nose, and then we're going to move on to the cap. So let's flip it around here. Check my camera and make sure that the nose is clearly in the camera there. I think if I swing this around the other way, like this, make sure that that is in view. Looks like it is. So you'll see we have these two little relief wings here. Super simple. All we got to do is just heat it up a little bit and we'll get them down. I'm just going to use my thumb and sort of rock it down. And that's all there is to it. Now, as this is warm, if you want, you can really pinch these together so there's no gap there, okay? Now, the reason there's a gap there is to give you some working room, to relieve the stress as you bring this vinyl together to the peak, okay? And there we go. So let's take a look here at what we've accomplished so far, okay? We've got the majority of the boat already done. I'd say half the boat is done. We're going to move on to, I think, the sides next, and we'll do the cap, which is the hardest part, last. Here's the back. Nice, even lines. Beautiful. Okay, I've moved my camera angle again because I'm going to do the sides now. The sides on this boat are in two pieces. There's an upper strip and a lower strip. And the objective here is to keep these strips away from your glue joint. So there's going to be a little gap in that glue joint. Now the stock graphics that come on the boat actually bridge over top of that glue joint. Not really a good idea because this little glue joint is such a step down that dirt and water ends up getting underneath that graphic that's bridging the joint, and eventually in the long term it's going to fail. When this came out of the box, I could actually see that the graphic wasn't even adhered over top that glue joint. So I've already taken the strip off of the sheet just for the sake of time, and I'm going to spray down the side of the boat, and I'm going to spray down the strip. Decided to start with the upper strip because I want to work my way down the side and make sure that my lines are all even. So I'm going to get this in place, then I'll flip the boat upright so you can see it better. Okay, so we'll flip the boat up here. Careful not to drop the strip on the ground or something like that. If your table's clean, it can probably just lay on your table. That won't be a problem. So I can already see, I need to move this back just a little bit. Now, one of the tricks about compound curves and graphics is not every spot can have a good registration of the graphic. So what we tend to do as designers is we align the graphic and register the graphic in the middle. And by register the graphic, I mean you can see that these things line up. The artwork lines up. As it comes up here, on the computer itself, this piece actually flails away like this. So it's impossible to have good registration up there. So you'll notice as we come up, there's really no major design up on this tip here. It's just sort of abstract design work. And the stuff that lines up is in the section that can actually have, can be lined up for the most part. Now, this does overhang just a little bit there, and that's okay. What I'm going to do is just go down through here and sort of try to make sure my lines are even, or as even as possible. So while the graphic is wet, we're just going to move it around here and try and get it centered the best that we can. It looks pretty good. And it's just going to go right up to the top there. Try and get this ripple out. Just relay this down. Just like this. I think I might come back and work that top edge down just a little bit more for myself. Okay? This looks pretty good. Try to get it in line. I'm going to add a little bit of heat. And you can either use your flat squeegee or that cloth. And just get your water out just like that, okay? We'll go over the front. And we're just going to squeegee that right down, just like that. Let's check our back here. The back is just a little bit hung over there, but I think that's going to be okay. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit and dry it off with the heat gun, and then just tack it down, just like that. And that's the first top stripe. Let's move on to the second stripe. Okay, so now we're on to our next strip here. Let me see if I can turn this over so you can see it. It's going to actually go just like this, okay? Same process. I'm just going to wet the boat down, and then I'm going to wet the piece down, and we're going to get it lined up. This piece is a bit easier to install because it actually goes, it kind of jams right up against that glue line or that step down. It's easy to see, and it just perfectly flows right up along this edge. And that's it. Okay. Just going to back that off, get it a little bit more even. I'm going to add some heat. And find my squeegee here. I think I heated it to about right there, and I'm just going to go right down the edge, and all the water comes out. I'm going to do the same from this point forward. And we're just going to follow it. Just like that, okay? So the side is officially done. I'm just checking for any bubbles. I don't feel any. So here's where we are. Okay, we got a nice registration there. And we're going to move on to the other side, and I'm going to speed up the camera because you probably don't need to see it. Let me just see here if I can get this piece wrapped around here that I missed. Just dry it off a little bit, and then just take my finger and push it back. I use my rag to sort of get any extra out. Okay, and here's where we are. And I'm gonna do the other side now, and I'm gonna just speed it up a little bit so that it's easier for you to see. It's the same process, just the other side. So I've got both sides of the boat done, and you can see here it looks pretty darn good. Let me flip it around here so you can see the front. Okay, there we go. So what I want to do now is I want to get these two pieces on, and then we're going to do the hardest part, which is the center cap. I decided I'm going to go back over this one more time with some alcohol, because as you're doing the install, you're going to get a lot of your hand oils and things like that on this cap, since it's the last piece we do. Okay, And I'm just going to go off camera here, and I'm going to grab the piece I need, pluck it from the sheet. First, I'm going to wet that down like that. Okay. I've got the piece here, and I'm just going to give it a quick spray down. And it's going to fit pretty much perfectly right in here. We're just going to get this lined up here. Add just a little bit more fluid. Just like this. So we're following our lines along the base of the cap here, and also along this edge here. Okay? That looks pretty good. So I'm going to add a little bit of heat. Find my squeegee. I'm going to start in the middle. I'm just going to work my way back like this. And I'm going to work my way forward just like that. And out came the water. I'm going to do the other side now. I'm going to run over here and just grab it off the sheet. Okay, so I've got the piece I need. I'm just going to spray it down. It's going to land right in here. And it will overlap just a little bit on the front for you. You can trim that off or leave it overlapped if you like. I prefer to trim it off, and I'll probably do so at a later time. Let me get this switched around here so the camera has a bit of a better view. Okay. And we're going to heat this up just a little bit. And then we're going to use the squeegee to just push that water out. And then we're going to go this way. And that looks pretty good. Okay, it's time to move on to the top cap here. So I'm just going to spray the top cap down. And I'm also going to get around here in case the top cap touches the original graphics. Now I'm going to pull the top cap graphic off. Okay, here's the top graphic for the cap. We're going to spray it down. And you'll notice we've got relief cuts, okay? This is going to be your center line. And these two pieces, as it goes around the curve, they're going to pinch together like this. Same with these. So what you want to do on this boat in particular is line up your back edge right here, okay? You can't go wrong there because you know the center point is right here where this relief cut is, and you want an even gap there and there. So now you want to just lift this center cap up, and you want to find this hole right here. That's going to be your center line, okay? So now we're just going to do a soft fold down and see where we are. I've got a pretty big gap there, which is probably going to mean I'm going to be tight on that side, and I am. So I'm going to lift this side up just a little bit. I'm going to pull the excess over this way, which is going to help me center things up, okay? Okay, so I'm just looking here. Looks pretty good. I think it can still come over this way just a little bit. So I'm going to put my finger on there and just sort of wiggle it around a little bit on top of this water. Now, one of the tricks to this install is there's going to be a little bit of a heavy gap there, and as you heat it up and it stretches, it's going to sit down, okay? So let's heat it up. Now, I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to go right down my center line. You can see the water rushing out. Now I'm going to go this way and get most of the water out. It's not all going to come out, and then I'm going to go this way. And you can see that doesn't want to sit down, and it's because it needs a little bit more heat. It's actually cooled off enough already. And now I'm going to push it again and just work my way. That looks pretty good. We've got a nice graphic registration line up there that looks really good. I'm happy with that. That's pretty tough to do on a curve like this. Let me get the boat spun around here for you so you can see what I'm up to. Okay. Okay. And we're just going to go right down. You can see that this slid down a little bit there for me, like I said it would. Beautiful. Here comes the hard part, okay? Let's get this wetted up a little bit here. Okay, here we go. What we need to do is warm this up. We'll work on one wing at a time. And just using my hands to sort of pull it apart a little bit here. Just watch my thumb. Now I have some ripples that want to form. So what I'm going to do is try and force that energy out and down. See the ripple there? Let's split the ripple up a little bit. We can't force the entire ripple down, so I formed it into two, okay? There's one. Let's pull this up, heat it up. See the ripple disappeared from the heat? Okay? And we're just working our way around, just like so. Now here's where this relief cut comes in, because you can see we're forcing all that memory over into my relief cut I've made. Okay? Squeegee. And down we go, okay? Looking good. That looks really good. Got a little water bubble here. I'm going to try and get out before... There it goes. Yep. Okay. Let's spin this around. Now, this has dried a little bit from the ambient heat I had going on there. So I'm going to heat it up and wet it down one more time. And it's just the same process, just the other side. Okay? So there's the ridge. I'm going to work it through. I'm leaving a little bit of a ridge right there, because that much of a ridge I can set down. Okay? I don't want to force the entire ridge over into this relief cut. I want to leave some of the ridges there and force them down. And then the residual will just work its way right over to that relief cut. And it should line up pretty even for us. Okay? So here we are. Looks pretty good. I don't think I have any bubbles here. So I haven't done anything other than just force these around, and you can see that they're kissing right there, which is great. There's a little bit of a gap there yet. Most people probably won't care, but I'm just going to show you how to suture that up. You can warm it up and just press them together like this, okay? And keep doing that until you start to feel it cool. It's when it starts to cool that it'll stay. If you press it together and it's still hot, and it may be together, and you walk away with it hot, because it's still warm, it's going to want to come back. Now, you're not going to get this to be perfect, but you can certainly do a pretty good job of getting them a lot more even. I think what I want to do is take off this silver windshield sticker and put the black one on that came with the kit. I think it'll do a nicer job of getting down here and evening up around the top of that. So why don't we dive right into that? Okay, so in order to remove this sticker here, what you need to do is just get behind it with your knife just a little bit like this and just very carefully work it up. And you're about to see just how easy it is to remove stock stickers from a boat body. They do not stick very well. These stickers will not come off that easy. You will have to pull hard to get these off once they are fully bonded, okay? Now, I'm just going to go over that spot with a little bit of my alcohol. Just like this. I don't feel any residue there from that previous sticker, okay? And same process as everything else. Spray it. I'm gonna run over here and grab my windshield sticker. Take a look at this bad boy after I spray it here so it doesn't stick to my hands. Hopefully you can see some of those sparkles. Let me get, yep, there we go. Taking a look at the camera here. See how this is the metallic flake edition. And you can see that thing sparkle. That is going to go just like this. See how much of a better fit that is? So we're just gonna line this up here and try and do our best to get it centered. Boy, that's really good right there. I mean, that thing fit right on there. Look at that. Real nice blackout windshield. Beautiful. Heating it up a little bit, just like every other part, and I'm just going to take my squeegee and I'm just going to go right around. I can see the water coming out. I'm going to go right around this way. I can see the water coming out. And I'm going to finish it off with my towel because there's a little bit of water down in the groove here, and I just want to soak it up so it doesn't get soaked back up underneath the graphic itself. So I just want to trim this piece up here. This is the built-in overlap that came on the graphics. And I'm using my thumb to sort of hold the graphic in place because it hasn't fully cured yet. And if you put even a sharp blade on it and you start to pull, it can still float across that little bit of watery edge that we have left. Okay, so I've showed you start to finish how to install a wrap, Darkside Studio wrap on a Sonicwake. It went fairly easy, I think. For a solid topped piece like this, when they're pre-cut, they are not hard to put on. If this was a thin automotive wrap, I think it would be really hard for somebody to do who's not doing automotive wraps all the time. With the pre-cut pieces, you know exactly where things go, exactly how they're going to line up. With the thicker product, it doesn't wrinkle on you. It doesn't bunch up. You can sort of handle it a lot more easily. And just take a look here at what we finished with. Now I'm going to come back through and I'm going to put my rubber grommet back in here. I'm going to wait a few days and let this sit in the sun and just toast a little while and get that graphic to bake on there, and before I start shoving grommets in and doing things like that. But all in all, I think it turned out really nice. There's lots of designs I have for all Pro boats, even Traxxas boats. This one is called the Hustler theme. It is available, I believe right now it's $79.95. That can change depending on when you're watching this video. This boat actually will be for sale. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. It's a brand new boat. It was only used just to put these graphics on. So if you're in the market for a boat, this one could be yours. Thank you so much for watching my video, and tune in for the next one.